Am I on? I don't hear me. Thank you for that. So I have a question for you this morning. By a show of hands, because remember I am a psychologist, so I'm taking a survey here. By a show of hands, how many of you have a desire to be, do, or have something more in your life? I'm looking. Okay. Clearly nobody is going to wither up and blow away today. It's a good thing to have a desire in your life. In fact, it's a natural, normal human tendency to want something more than what you have right now. Now, there are philosophies on the planet that say don't go there. Let's just all be happy with what we have. That doesn't really work that well, especially in our culture here in the United States. We want stuff, and there's nothing wrong with stuff. However, how many of you could say that you've desired something to be, do, or have in your life that you have let go of because it didn't happen? Yeah, when you look back, there's been some things you wanted that you didn't get. That's okay too. But what I want to talk with you about today is how to guarantee that you're going to get that thing that you want in life. Because there really are ways to do that. All right, next question. Remember back when we just did the one about what do you desire to be, do, and have in your life. Think about that thing that came to mind first. And my question to you on it now is, do you have a plan to get it? If you raise your hand if you have a plan to get it. Not as many hands. That's okay. That's all right. Because everybody has their process. And I believe in planning. I do it all the time. I'm big on having my list. You know about my list. So my life is about having a plan. But what I've discovered is a plan is not a guarantee to success. Why would that be? Well, most of the people on the planet experience life as though something is happening to them. And some of the things that are happening to people in our lives, they're not happy about. That's not the thing they want. We heard about an issue of cancer this morning. That's one of them. Nobody wants that, yet there it is coming at somebody. Now, the way Steve handled it in his sharing earlier is that we don't have to have that. We don't have to go to that crisis place with it. Having a little plan's not a bad idea, but if you have a plan to achieve something in your life, to be, do, or have something in your life, and you get to a place where it's not working, where one of those steps on your plan suddenly is not happening, then what do? Well, if life's coming at you, if things are happening, and this is something you didn't plan for, there's a good possibility you're going to say, well, I tried. It didn't happen. And just settle for that. But we don't have to. We don't have to settle in our lives for anything. Planning's a good idea, but it's not the answer. Because there can be parts of your plan that aren't what's going to happen. Here's what I've discovered that we can all do to have success in every area of our lives and the things that we desire to have. It's a little different. It comes at the beginning. It comes at the beginning when you recognize that desire and you start playing with it. How could this work in my life? What is it? How am I going to get this? How is this going to happen? How am I going to take that wonderful trip to France? Got somebody in the room leaving on Tuesday for 5 weeks. And yes, planned out, that's all wonderful. But what's missing? What's the thing that you got to have to make this thing work? Well, to share that with you, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you a story about a man named W.H. Murray. He was a Scotsman, and what he loved to do was climb mountains. He lived in Scotland. They have mountains there. He became quite the expert on climbing mountains in Scotland back in the late 1930s. Had a great life. What happened in the late 1930s? Europe ended up in war. He ended up in the army, the Royal Infantry apparently, and went to fight the Nazis in northern Africa. That's where he was sent. Now it happens not long after he got there, he got captured. Nazi Panzer tank troop captured him and sent him to a prison for war, for soldiers, a prison of war camp in southern Italy, where he spent several years. And if you probably remember, there have been comedies about prisoner of war camps in World War II, but the truth is it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. So to fill his time in his mind, he decided, in reminiscing about how much he loved his mountain climbing, to write a book about climbing the mountains in Scotland. Now, they weren't giving them paper and pen to do this, but he found something to write with, and the paper that he used was toilet paper. Not that cushy, soft stuff that you use. You know, it was probably some pretty rigid stuff. And so he used it and wrote his book on toilet paper. Apparently, the need for extra toilet paper in those barracks drew attention to him. And his captors found his book and summarily destroyed it and punished him for it. Fortunately, Murray survived the events in southern Italy and returned home when the time was right to his beloved Scotland. Being undaunted, he rewrote the book. He wrote the book better. And I want to share with you the words that tell us how to achieve in our lives the things that we want to be, the things that we want to do, and the things that we want to have. You may have heard this before, but you can't hear this too much. This comes from H.W. Murray. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back. Always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues forth, and meetings and material assistance, which no man could have dreamed would happen. Once one commits themselves, it's the commitment that guarantees success. Nah, John, come on now. That can't be so that everybody that ever committed to something had success. Well, let's look at that. Let's look at how that works. So Murray tells us that when we're committed, all kinds of unforeseen things happen to us. Meetings, material assistance, events that we couldn't possibly have planned come into play. How does that work? Well, here's the thing to know about that. Life is not coming at us. Life is not happening to us. Life is happening through us. And we're in charge of how that works. So that when we have challenges, and we will, I don't care how great your commitment, there's going to be challenges if you set a high enough standard. There's going to be things that happen that you didn't expect. It's the commitment, though, that you allow to be larger and more present in your life than the challenge. And when you do that, it changes. I was thinking about Murray and his mountain climbing, and I think mountain climbing is much like anything that we seek to achieve in our lives. Anything. The first thing that came to mind when I had that thought was, nobody casually shows up at the summit of a mountain. It just, I thought it was a good idea, and there I was. Not likely. It takes some planning. It takes some intention set forth. Yes, absolutely. But knowing, and Murray did climb Mount Everest, and in his understanding of that, he changed his whole way of seeing it, that it was his commitment that kept being there for him as he stepped forward each step of that mountain. The plan helped. Couldn't have done it without the plan, but certainly the best laid plans of men do not get them to the summit of Mount Everest or any great mountain. There has to be a drive. There has to be an intention. Now that could look to someone like I'm saying, well, then you have to have the will to do this. I'm not saying that. This is not a matter of having willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. We all have some of it, and we can use it to a degree. But have you noticed in the big things in your life where you set forth an intention, where you're committed to the outcome, the hard parts are still there. The things that you have to move through are still there. And if you see them as stoppers in your life, if you think that that will stop you from getting where you want to be in your life, it can win. But if your commitment is greater than anything that can come before you, if you are that ingrained in knowing the truth, that you are able to accomplish the end goal that you set for yourself, nothing will stop you. And life will actually support you. The truth is that we, as human beings on planet Earth, have the ability to influence our environment. We do that through this idea of commitment. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't challenges along the way. There are challenges along the way. What do? They teach us and show us that we're bigger than the challenge. That's what we do. That's who we are. So when we step up to take some action in our lives with great commitment, we have what it takes to push through all of those challenges. And I want you to know you influence your life so much that you not only create the success that you seek, but you also create the challenges. You're driving the bus. You're making this thing happen. So that when you say, I'm faced with this challenge, pat yourself on the back. You're the one that came up with that. Oh, no, I would never have done that. Cancer, a belligerent boss, debt, the economy, any of those things you can see as big in your life, and they can win until you make the commitment to be greater than that. That's what will make the difference. Now, I'm not suggesting you make the difference with a clear commitment once and then go off on your happy journey of achieving your success. It has to be an ongoing, repetitive experience of commitment. There was a great American civil rights activist and writer named Howard Thurman, who wrote something that I find to be one of the most extraordinary ideas that I've ever seen. He wrote a poem, and the name of it and the first line of it were the same. And I'm going to go read it now because the first word's gone. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, because life can distract me. Life can say that this problem is bigger than me. Life can give me all kinds of illusions to look at, but I am no victim. I do not fall prey to that. For my commitment is greater than any of that. But I must remember my commitment. I must keep that resolve to that outcome clear in my mind. So what I recommend is to use Howard Thurman's words every single day. Use them at the beginning of your day. Wake up. And yes, do whatever things you must do to begin your day. Some of us need to have our bathroom time and we need our cup of coffee, not necessarily together, but we need whatever it is that we've got. But once we're settled into being awake and being aware, let's claim that commitment again in our lives. Let's remember why we chose to do that. What it is that's important to us about achieving this outcome, whether it's something we're to be, something we're to do, or something we're to have. However you look at it, do it every day. Every single day. Let that become your regimen, your ritual. That you remember what this thing is. And in that day, do something. Some little something toward creating that outcome in your life. It could be a call. It could be a note to self. It could be a comment in a calendar or a diary. It doesn't matter how you do it. But that you do something to keep that fresh before you that day. Some thought, some action that moves you a little bit closer. And when you do, you're guaranteeing the outcome that you seek. Accept nothing less in your life, and you will have the success that you seek. That's who you are. You have it within you to do that. Don't let anyone ever tell you you can't or that it's not possible, because everything that was ever done was likely thought to be impossible at some point in time. You can do what you set your heart to. You can do what you make your commitment and your resolution to. Stay resolved, keep your commitment, and have the success that you're here to experience, like only you can. That will make your world a better place. And it will make our world a better place. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you so much. God bless you. Yeah.